This is a very quick tip to talk about something in RC that occasionally crops up in videos and other bits and bobs that you're watching, and people talk about it but they don't really explain what it is in great detail. So this is one of a series of videos where we're going to talk about Exponential, or as it's shown in the display here, EXP, or sometimes called Expo. Now, Expo is a way for you to desensitize the stick control around the middle area so that it makes it easier to control. So if I was flying a flying wing, for example, or a helicopter without a flybarless control unit on it, then I would desensitize the stick around the middle. That would make it easy for me to do small corrections as it was flying, but having the Expo means I still have 100% deflection side to side. So let's look at that in a couple of slides just to help me explain what that actually means in real life. So here we have the radio on the right, and we're looking at a little kind of graph on the left hand side where the stick movement goes across and the value of the channel goes up and down. So what we're going to do is move the stick up and down, and that's going to move it across. And this is to kind of graphically represent what Expo does. And the reason we're looking at this, and you'll see that in the last slide. So as I move the stick without any Expo, it's a direct linear correlation between where the stick is and the channel value that's sent to the receiver. So when it's at 50% or 25 or 75 or 100%, it's putting out 25, 50, 75 or 100% of the channel value. So there's direct one-to-one relationship. And that's pretty easy to understand. That's what you'd expect from a remote control radio. Exponential is where you introduce a curve into the equation, where what we're actually doing, and the reason it's called exponential is because we're using an exponential curve. What it does then is it desensitizes the control around the middle position. So now as we see we move the control to 25 and to 50%, you see that the actual channel value, the output of the radio, is so much smaller. We're not at 25 and 50% anymore. But if we go all the way up to 75% and 100, we still have the full travel of the channel that we would want, but round about the center, that 25, 0 and 50%, you can actually see that we're getting much lower sensitivity on the stick. And actually, what you'll notice is if we go back to the radio we were looking at the beginning, the top right-hand quadrant is actually the diagram that's on the screen of the computer radio that's showing us what Expo that we have. So in summary, Exponential, Expo or EXP is a way to desensitize the controls around their middle position to help with fine control of the model when it's in flight, but still gives you the full deflection of the control surfaces at either end. Be aware that positive and negative values are used by different manufacturers. With this Spectrum radio, plus 25% is about nice for me. It provides a nice crisp response, but around the center sticks allows me to do fine little corrections as I'm flying along. Other radios use a negative value. So when you're reading the manual for your radio and it's talking about exponential and increasing exponential, just make a note of which way that is. There's some snobbery around exponential in the hobby. People say you shouldn't use it. It's a crutch. I personally say, look, if it works and you use it and you prefer to fly like that, absolutely turn it on. I would say that 15 to 30% are kind of regular values. Anything over 30%, I would say just be a bit careful, because you're starting to get to the point where the stick's so desensitized in the middle that you'll start to develop potentially a couple of bad habits. But what you'll find in the hobby is that as you get more accomplished, you'll reduce the amount of exponential on the channel because your ability to fine control the sticks will get better over time as well. And every model is slightly different. If you can, some control boards for things like multicopters allow you to set exponential on the copter itself. If you can, that's a good idea, because the exponential on the control board actually does a slightly better job, because when you are doing very small increments of change, you can kind of bump into problems with the resolution of the channel on the radio. If you're having it done in the software on the far end as part of a control board like an APM or a multi-Wii, that can be very useful. And finally, I'd say is, look, always test the results. Have a look on the model sat on the bench, make sure the prop's off, power it up, and see what Exponential does. Turn it on, turn it off, and see how it affects the control of the surfaces. And if you're not sure, make sure that the first time you're trying it out, go to the field with somebody who is more experienced, and they can kind of talk you through it. So in summary, Exponential, it's about desensitizing the controls around the middle stick. It's not a bad thing. It can be a fantastic way to make a model easier to control or to calm twitchy models so you can do fine adjustment. And have a go, see what you think, and get the value that feels right for you. So thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and happy flying.